In OP10 we received a lot of new, powerful leaders. One of them is Blue-Black Usopp. Powerful color combination and direct support in the set, complementing Leader's effect, allow us to dominate the games with Straw Hat's crew marksmen. Let's take a closer look at the man himself. Standard dual color stat line, 4 life and 5000 power. Effect that reads: all of your Dressrosa type characters with a cost of 2 or more gain +1 cost. Opponent turn once per turn. This effect can be activated when your Dressrosa type character is removed from the field by your opponent's effect or KO'd. If you have 5 or less cards in your hand, draw 1 card. First part of the effect helps to keep characters on board against opponent's cost-based removal. And there is also one card printed OP10 that is custom made for this cost increase interaction. But that's not all. Even if they manage to remove your Dressrosa character, either by effect or KO, it will simply refund itself by drawing you a card as long as you have 5 or less cards in your hand. As a 4-life leader, it's a blessing, because you can afford to counter small attacks in early game to stay healthy, because your hand will refill itself over the course of the game. But are there even any useful Dressrosa characters to build a competitive deck around such a strong effect? And the answer is yes. Not only we already have Blue-Black Dressrosa Leader in the game, that is Rebecca from OP04, with existing Dressrosa support. On top of that we get new Dressrosa cards printed in OP10. Let's start the build with win condition of the deck. 7 cost Rebecca and 1 cost stage Corrida Colosseum. Rebecca is a new blue card printed in OP10. She is our main target on 7 dawn turn to get a value payoff. Due to Usopp Leader's effect, she sees herself as a cost when played. Therefore, we can activate the effect immediately. For Mere 7 Dawn, we draw a card and develop 4000 power body, any 7 cost or lower Dressrosa character standing, and 1 4 cost or lower Dressrosa character rested. Pure value. Corrida Colosseum is a card that ensures that we can manage the board until our 7 Dawn turn and extract value from opponent's rested characters. Simple effect that gives our Dressrosa characters a pseudo rush that allows them to attack opponent's characters the turn they are played. Next, let's take a look at some exciting characters that we can play together with 7 cost Rebecca. 7 cost Kyrus, 9000 power Dressrosa character that returns 5 cost or lower character to its owner's hand. Powerful bounce effect to control the board and gain tempo. On top of that, if we control stage, he can attack opponent's character the turn we play him, in effect clearing 2 threats from the opponent's board, or at least extracting good amount of cards. Another cool character that we can play of Rebecca's effect is 7 cost Monkey D. Luffy. Even though our main target is most of the time Kyrus, we can only play 4 copies of any card with the same name in the deck. Therefore, Luffy is a nice consistency pick and a tech choice into Blackbeard matchup. 7000 power character that can attack active characters. On top of that, we can restand him for returning 7 cards from trash to the deck if we are pushing for lethal or need some emergency board clearing. That's it for our 7 cost choices. Now let's take a look at the 4 cost characters that can be played of Rebecca, but also help us to maintain the board in early and mid game. Please note, they are all Dressrosa type, so we can take the full use of our stage. First, the Value King, Cavendish. 4 cost, 6000 power is an amazing stat line. On top of that, when attacking effect, draw 2 cards and discard 1 card from hand. It's amazing for so many reasons. First of all, if we play him on curve with stage on board and our opponent has a rested character, we can not only pressure it, but also get the benefit from when attacking effect, in result netting us 1 card. What is important, we draw 2 cards first and discard 1 card afterwards. Card filtering like this is amazing in One Piece card game. You can go through your deck to find the pieces you need, like 7 cost Rebecca, or pieces to go with her, and in the same time you fill up the trash with the cards you don't need for other effects in a deck that use trash, like for example 7 cost Luffy. Next high impact 4 cost 6000 power character is Zoro. First of all, how amazing is this art, and it's just the regular one. As a Zoro fan, I'm so happy. But back on the main topic. His effect allows some heavy board control versus aggro decks. It's especially powerful if you have staging play before playing Zoro. On play, you rest your leader or stage to KO one of your opponent's 4 cost or lower characters. Then, you fill up your trash with 2 cards from the top of your deck. If we have stage in play, in effect we can clear 2 characters on curve, especially relevant versus Blue Doffy. You play Zoro, rest a stage, KO 4 cost, and then immediately attack into another one with your leader and the Zoro. A lot of tempo. However, sometimes you will be missing stage in the early game, so remember to not attack with your leader to rest him for Zoro's effect, as it's mandatory cost. Rest 4 cost characters are more defensive choices. 4 cost Frankie, 5000 power blocker that if played correctly can net you some cards. It's due to his effect. On KO, play up to 1 3 cost or lower Dressrosa character rested from your trash. Most of the time it will be a searcher or a blocker that I will show you later. So not only we are blocking an attack or applying pressure if we decide to attack with Frankie, but we also get a card from leader's effect once he is removed, and if it was a KO, we go even deeper into our deck with rested searcher or recycle a blocker for future turns. Next, let's focus on defense, as our last 4 cost character is a 2k counter. We don't have that many strong 2k counters with Dressrosa type. The ones that I recommend are 4 cost 5000 power Sabo. Great card to be played together with Kyros of Rebecca. If you are worried for any form of removal, targeting Kyros. Forces attack or KO removal first into Sabo, as our opponent can't afford to bounce him back into our hand due to 2k counter. 2 cost Toy Soldier. 2k counter and cost reduction in 1 card. Minus 3 cost means our Kyros can target 8 cost characters and Zoro can KO 6 cost characters. Last 2k counter of choice is also a blocker. 3 cost Bartolomeo. He is searchable due to Dressrosa type. It's also good target from Frankie's effect. Another blocker that we play for the same reasons is Ideo. However, he's only 1k counter. Nonetheless, champ blockers are great in this deck, as they can stop powerful attack and refund themselves through card draw from Usopp Leader's effect. Next, I have 2 cards that are more of tech choices. Starting off with Red Rock. Only card without Dressrosa type in this build. Deck struggles into big bodies, so you can play more cost reduction or just panic button like Red Rock to remove pesky 10 drops. King Kong Gun. This card is mostly played together with 7 cost Luffy as a finisher package. However, we have so many Dressrosa characters that anyone can be threatening attacker. It's not unusual to push for a game with 7 cost Rebecca buffed into 10,000 power, and because we have a lot of ways to fill up the trash, we can even reach the point of double attack. Imagine, your opponent on 2 life, you buff Rebecca for 10,000 power double attack push into 0 life, followed by 12,000 power leader swing with remaining Dawn. Very cool finisher combo. Lastly, let's speak about deck's consistency. We play 2 searchers, Leo and Rebecca. Rebecca is already known from OP04 expansion. The downside is she can't find a new 7 cost Rebecca, so use her carefully. Also, she digs only 3 cards, but still can help us get other pieces and fill up the trash with 2 cards. Leo is much better searcher in this deck, but you need to rest a leader or stage to use his effect, so plan accordingly. Search 5 cards deep, we pick up 2 Dressrosa pieces we need, and rest goes to the bottom. On top of that, we trash 1 card from hand to fill up the trash for future effects. Using all the mentioned cards, I would play the list that looks like this. It's the same list that was used by Asia Finals winner. You can change the ratio of 4 cost characters and add 1 Rebecca search if needed. However, keep in mind that most of the time 7 or 8 targets that you want to see early doesn't make much difference. Leo is your main searcher, so you can afford to play 3 copies of Rebecca searchers. The same stays true for Cavendish and Zoro. You want to see at least one of them on curve, but after playing a lot you will notice that Cavendish is much more useful early game, and as both of the cards are counterless, cutting one for more 2k counters is not a bad idea. But the reverse is also true. If you feel like 11 2k counters are too much, you can cut one Sabo for example to play 4 copies of Zoro instead of 3 and so on. Experiment and tweak the list to your likings. However, I think it's a great starting point for any new or beginner Usopp player, as we utilize a lot of Dressrosa cards for consistency. But if you like to experiment, there are some interesting tech choices that you might want to try. If you feel like you need more cost reduction, 2 main cards to test are Tempest Kick and Ice Age. Both cards help your Kuros and Zoro reach higher removal thresholds. Suru is a very good 2k counter consideration. She is 1 cost lower than Toy Soldier and reduces only by -2, but depending on your local meta it might be a solid consideration to remove 7 cost characters with Kuros or 6 cost characters with Zoro. However, keep in mind she is not searchable. Another 2k counter consideration is Giat. Simple on-play effect that allows one of your Dressrosa characters attack opponent's active character. 8 cost Gecko Moria. Boogeyman can be played also in Usopp, as we have some nice 4 cost and 2 cost targets, especially if you add to the mix cards like 4 cost Rebecca or Manchery. However, I prefer the build that focuses on consistency and Dressrosa characters instead, with 7 cost being the top end. 6 cost 7000 power Luffy. New great tech card into Blackbeard matchup, and that's about it. 6 cost is Jozu range, so play it only if you expect a lot of Blackbeards and dodge all the Doffy players. Lastly, you can try or find out any new tech cards yourself. Any good generic blue or black cards are good point to start. For example, 7 cost Gravity Blade might be great to target decks that go white with 6 cost or less characters. 5 cost Sabo might be good inclusion to help cycle through the deck and develop 6000 power blocker. As always, test yourself and make informed decision. If you find any spicy tech choices, please let me know in the comments. Moving on into mulligan and turn order. Based only on a deck curve, we would like to start first most of the time to reach the deck spike 7 cost Rebecca as soon as possible. However, consider opponent's deck choice, as sometimes it might be better to still going second from them. We are flexible, so adjust your starting choice depending on your opponent's leader. For the mulligan itself, we always want to have Leo. It's our main early game engine to find the pieces. If possible, we want to see the stage early, especially in matchups where we need to answer the board as soon as possible. In slower matchups, we can be more greedy with 7 cost Rebecca or 7 cost Kuros for our power turn. On top of all of that, it's always good to have a 4 cost like Zoro or Cavendish for early turns. Let me show you some early gameplay examples and card choices turn per turn for the first couple of turns. Let's start with going first curve. 1 Dawn. Even so early in the game, we already have some choices to make which character or maybe stage to play on 1 Dawn. Our choices are Leo, Rebecca and Corrida Colosseum. Most of the time the best play here will be Leo as our premium searcher. Not only its first turn, so we can afford to rest our leader to use the search effect, but also if we decide to, for example, play stage now, on the next turn, if we have 2 Leo characters in hand, it will be difficult to attack with the leader, because for each Leo activation we will need to rest either stage or our leader. For the cards that we are looking for from Leo's effect will be one of those. Corrida Colosseum, Rebecca, Kyros, Cavendish or Zoro. And this is because we have only 2 more turns to get our setup ready for the Rebecca, and also we want to find Colosseum as soon as possible, especially in more aggressive character heavy matchups. If we have one of those 2 pieces already in hand, we want to complement them either by searching for Kyros or Cavendish or any other 4-cost character, but most of the time Cavendish is the premium for drop. On freedom turn we are a little bit more flexible, but still we need to focus on achieving our win condition. So we either want to play the stage here, or if we still don't have pieces in hand, we want to utilize our searchers to find the missing pieces. If we manage to put stage on board, obviously rest the Corrida Colosseum for Leo search instead of our leader, and then we can swing with our leader. And remember, if you utilize Rebecca here, she can't find the Rebecca because the name is the same and Rebecca can search for the Rebecca. However, if you have 2 zones up and don't have any searchers, you might fill up the gap either by attacking with the leader for 7k, or maybe play 1 more card from hand. That will be ideal. He costs exactly 2 zone, and by playing the cards on the board, on the opponent's attack, if it's some high number and we decide to block with him, we can activate leader's effect to go deeper into our deck to find other pieces for our 7 dawn turn. One more note here, pay attention that the next turn you will be at 5 dawn, so you already should have some impactful 4-cost in hand. Normally you are looking for either Cavendish or Zoro. Most of the time Cavendish will be the premium pickup from your searchers for 5 dawn turn. And on 5 dawn, as I already mentioned, we really want to get stage into play. Don't worry, we still have 1 extra dawn if we are a little bit late with our stage to have a setup ready for the next power spike turn with Rebecca. It's very important that our Kyros will be able to attack, so this 1 dawn you might keep for playing the stage if you drew for turn or maybe found the previous turn but didn't have the spare dawn. And then for the rest 4 dawns you have mostly 2 impactful options. It's either Cavendish or Zoro as already mentioned, and they are your best picks to play on 5 dawn curve. Cavendish is a little bit more premium because he will be attacking on your next turn. You might say, okay, but if I play the Zoro I can then play Cavendish from Rebecca. The problem is from Rebecca we want to play 7-cost standing, that will be most of the time Kyros, and the 4-cost character comes rested. The difference between the 2 is that Zoro is on play effect, so even if he will be played rested the next turn, we still get to activate the effect. Cavendish is important to start attacking as soon as possible, so we continue to benefit from when attacking effect. So overall, if possible, on 5 dawn turn, most of the time, unless the board is really threatening you and you need this fast clear, setting up Cavendish for the next turn is ideal, especially if you can develop the Corrida Colosseum as well. If the stage is already in play, then the 1 remaining dawn you can again use for some search effect or attach to your leader and swing for 6k with the dawn attached. And the 7 dawn turn is the turn where the magic happens. First of all, if your Cavendish survived, you can swing with him to use when attacking effect to dig into your deck. Maybe you are still missing some pieces, maybe even Rebecca. You still have 2 card chances to draw them for this turn if you swing with Cavendish first. And the optimal combo that you are looking for will be for 7 dawn to play the Rebecca, and Rebecca gives you yet another chance to draw for another card pieces if they are still missing, or maybe you want to adjust on the fly. Because due to Usopp effect, Rebecca sees herself as 8 cost, so the effect starts immediately. We draw a card, and the card that we want to have the most to play active as 7 cost from Rebecca is Kyros, and Kyros, as we already know, will bounce one of opponent's characters, and if you have Colosseum, can directly attack the same turn that he was played into opponent character to clean both of them. And together with Kyros we have some options. If your opponent went really wide, you might want to play Zoro rested to activate his on play effect by resting the stage if it's in play, and then KO one of the 4 cost or less characters. However, if you are afraid of your Kyros dying for whatever reason, you can play Sabo rested together with him to give some extra protection. And as I already mentioned, don't forget you need to play 2 characters at once. They need to be Dressrosa, 7 cost active and 4 cost or less rested. In case that you don't have Kyros or any other 7 cost character, obviously you can fill up with any other 4 cost standing or any other character that you have in hand with Dressrosa attack. On our 9 Dawn turn we have 2 more Dawn to work with. Obviously our top end finishes at 7 Dawns, so if possible we want to continue develop those 7 cost characters or just attach the Dawn and attack. But let's say we still want to develop and maybe clear some higher cost characters from the board, then comes really handy the Toy Soldier, exactly 2 Dawn. What is really great, it activate main effect. So we might send this character to trash to reduce any character on opponent's board for -3 cost, and then we can follow up with our Rebecca turn, or should I say rather Rebecca play, decide on our 7 cost and 4 cost rested most of the time, and then we can decide which character range we can remove. With Toy Soldier, as already mentioned, Kyros can clean up to 8 cost by bouncing it back to the opponent's hand, and Zoro can straight up KO if you rest the stage or leader by reducing by 3 7 cost or less character from the board. Later in the game it's important to adjust what your opponent is doing. Maybe it's better to start attaching Dawn instead of developing the board over and over and start pressuring the life. One more thing, on 10 Dawn you have access to really simple yet very strong play, and this is 6 cost Gum Gum red drop to remove some of your opponent's threats, like the big 10 cost bodies, your panic button, so to say. And then as you can see, you still have 4 Dawn ready, so you can maybe opt to some value play, maybe 4 cost Cavendish. And if you have stage on board and opponent's character is rested, you can directly attack into them to generate some additional value. But other than that, stay open-minded, adapt to the situation on the board. Don't tunnel vision just into the Rebecca Kyros Zoro combo or Rebecca Kyros Sabo combo. There are many different lines, especially when your curve finishes at 7 Dawn. You have some cards to play with, especially that most of your cards are 4 cost. And now just shortly for going second curve on 2 Dawn. Not much changes, still we want to play our best searcher in a deck and search by resting the leader card, and if possible this is the turn where we really want to play the stage. And why do we want to play the stage? Let's say you play against Blue Doflamingo. On the next turn they will be on 3 Dawn, so one of their characters will be rested. That means that on our next turn, when we untap and go up to 4 Dawn, we will be ready to challenge this character with our 4 cost character with Pseudo Rush. We can always swing with Usopp into the character to get some value, some cards like rested Jinbe. We can then follow up either with Cavendish or Zoro to extract even more value out of them. If the swing is countered, then maybe choose Cavendish to push one more time and start drawing cards. Or if you want to have a clean board, then you can opt to go with Zoro, press the stage and then swing into the body, removing 2 of them. It all depends what your target is for this turn. Also against slower decks, it's not so important to have the stage on board. We can opt to just playing Cavendish from hand and having the setup for the next turn to start generating the value. And we have one more turn to search for our combo pieces, that is Rebecca and friends. On our 6th dawn turn we are quite flexible depending what we have in hand. We can play accordingly. Most of the time it will be 4-cost character and some usage of the dawn, either attaching them to go aggressive and attack. Maybe we are missing some pieces, then we can play the Leo to search for more. Also, if we are resting our 4-cost characters, if Cavendish stays on board, he will generate us the value, and maybe we have another 4-cost in hand. It can be 2nd Cavendish or maybe 2nd Zoro. Then also, if our opponent has rested characters on board, we can challenge them with our strong pseudo rushers with a stage on board, and then afterwards, if we want to protect our board, we have exactly 2 dawn for our trusted Ideo to protect them. And this is lose-lose situation for our opponent, because if they decide to attack big into our rested characters, not only we can block it with Ideo and let him be KO'd, but also activate Usopp effect and draw additional card. And then 8th dawn turn, our pseudo Gecko Moria turn. Obviously we want to play Rebecca if possible with matching combo, be it Kyros and maybe this time Sabo for protection, and then if opponent has rested characters, swing into them. But what's interesting about 8th dawn turn, we have 1 dawn open, and sure we can attach it for example to Rebecca if we want to put pressure on some 5000 power bodies by utilizing the Colosseum, but this is also why some of the lists are running the 1-cost Tsuru, because on 8th dawn turn it's possible that your opponent played 7-cost character the turn before on their 7th dawn turn. So if you have Tsuru for 1 dawn, you can play her to reduce the 7-cost character by -2, and then this character will be in range of Kyros. So small little combo to consider. In this list I don't run the Tsuru, but if you find a meta where a lot of 7-cost characters are present, it might be valuable consideration. And like before, on 10th dawn turn, you need to really think what you want to achieve in any given scenario, so it's more matchup specific, but also more game dynamic specific. So I invite you, in the future I will be releasing some more fundamental guides, or maybe more fitting would be basics guides, so look out for them. And here, like I said before, maybe Red Rock plus 4-cost character, maybe 7-cost Rebecca together with blocker Bartolomeo if you want to generate the board out of nothing, or if your board is full, then just attach the dons and swing. Very, very simple. Once you have advantage, you need to utilize it. Don't tunnel vision into constant developing the board. If your opponent is low on health, low on hand cards, start swinging those 7k swings, or maybe even some niche scenario that actually can happen quite often. As a bonus, what I already explained in the guide, 7-cost Rebecca on board, 10 dawn, we can play Gam Gam King Kong Gun for 3 dawn, targeting Dressrosa type character plus 6000 power. So it will be our Rebecca character now at 10,000 power. And if in our trash we have 15 or more cards, this character gains double attack for this turn. Also take note that when you cast King Kong Gun, it's also already counting to the trash total, so it's enough when you have 14 cards and the King Kong Gun becomes the 15th. And then if your opponent is even at 2 life but there are no blockers, maybe low hand cards, you just swing for 10k double attack, so they go immediately to 0 if they take, and then we have 7 dons left, 12k leader swing and handshake, GG, nothing more to say. Maybe a new scenario, but might be useful for you if you decide to play the package with the King Kong Gun. I also saw some players doing the finishers with some smaller characters, because even if you have Leo on board, plus 6000 power is already 8000 power attacker. Overall, Usopp is powerful new leader. Solid early game and big mid-game power spike threatens the deck like Blue Doflamingo. However, matchups that play and rely on bigger characters or boss monsters might be difficult, especially if you don't see your red rocks or cost reducers on time. Nonetheless, if you are Usopp fan or just want to try something new in OP10, this deck is a great choice for any tournament. And that's it for today. Let me know down in the comments what do you think about Usopp Leader. Thank you for watching, see you in the next video, bye bye.